Hello, and welcome to the Roost News. I am Lillian Lee, co-lead for the Roost News, and the topic today is Cafecito. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. If not, they will let me know. But thank you, Marilyn and Magdalena. Got it right? Yay! I'm going 1 for 1, 2 for 2 today. Staff and volunteers, we thank you for listening today. We have a very special topic, Cafecito program, and we're going to learn more about that in just a few minutes. But before we get started, we have lead volunteers in AARP land. So I want them to tell a little bit about themselves and what they do for AARP other than the Cafecito program, and why AARP, what's the passion for AARP? And Marilyn, we'll start with you.
All righty. So I have been a volunteer for AARP for about, I want to say 8 years. Time flies when you're having fun. And do a lot of different things with AARP. I was a past member of the Executive Council, just recently finished my 6 years. We do fraud watch, electric choice, Hispanic Latino outreach, and part of the volunteer facilitation training team. That's one of 13 members that we have at the national level that provides support to state offices in terms of team building, relationship building, and anything that the state office may need. And quite frankly, why AARP? Because AARP has a lot of programs that affect our communities. And my inspiration was the fact that I went to a session and like many people thought, you know what, AARP, yeah, insurance, whatever, hotels, discounts. And when I went, I was astounded of the number of programs that AARP has and the power that it has. And again, it affects our community, and our community needs to have a voice within AARP and to be the recipient of all those many benefits that being a member of AARP is all about. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Okay, great. Magdalena.
Our stories are almost the same, but a little bit different. But Marilyn brought me in, actually. She invited me to a reception that our AARP office was having. And then that's how I got involved. And I said, oh my God, this is great. This looks like such a great program and partnership, right? So I said, yes. I told her yes. And I told AARP Connecticut, yes, I will be a volunteer for AARP. That being said, I do fraud watch, caregiving, the Hispanic Latino outreach within the state, and now obviously nationally. So with the DWG and VFIT, so we do a variety of programs, whether in state and out of state. So not only for our community, but the community at large also. And that's basically my story.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Well, as you can see, listeners, we have 2 seasoned volunteers, as they say. And so we know that the Cafecito program is an excellent program. So let's transition to that program. In reading about it, it stated that it was for the Hispanic Latino population. So if someone came to me and said, Lillian, what is Cafecito all about? What is the beginning? Why even have that program? Share information about this particular program.
Mary, you want to get started with that? Yeah.
We collaborate. What she didn't also tell you is that she's my cousin. She's my cousin too. She didn't tell you that. I'll start. Cafecito came about because of a pilot project that National had started. It was a pilot project to increase Hispanic and Latino outreach. And that's a very broad statement. So there were many ways to do that. And the pilot areas were Houston, Texas, Dallas, Texas, Miami, Florida, and Tucson, Arizona. Wow. As a result of that pilot program, we were asked, would we like to start a chatter group? And we said, oh, absolutely. And do the Cafecitos as part of it too. So actually the Cafecitos started first, and we decided, hey, the best way to share that information would be through the portal on a chatter group. Yes. The Cafecitos are intended to, again, share information about what's going on across the country with Hispanic and Latino, not only outreach, but things that are taking place that may not be recognized all the time, right?
Mhm.
So let's talk, share our successes, build upon those successes. And that's basically where it started from. We meet every last Tuesday of the month. We
Mhm.
started in March along with the pilot program. And quite frankly, it was supposed to be done in conjunction with the pilot program. And due to the success, we want to continue it, darn it. And we shall.
Good,
We
good.
shall. I'm going to
Wonderful.
stop there and let Magdalia add some comments. I have more to say, but
Mhm.
Mhm. Okay, so as we started this program, as she said, we started it with a pilot program that was done AARP in collaboration with Neta, and Neta is the National Educational Telecommunication Association. And our partner there was Portia Portal, and she would be the one that would come on and do the cafecitos with us and whatnot. We would host it together, and it worked really well. And as she said, it was part of that pilot program, but because the cafecitos, and like always, things start slow, right? We may
Mhm.
not have a lot of participants at this time. There are months where we have a good deal of participants, and then other months where it might be a little slower. But that being said, we're just getting started. And as
Excellent.
we see what people are sharing and what they're saying, as far as, oh, you're doing that, I can do
Mhm.
that. Or, this state is actually has a really good idea about what, how to do a heritage presentation or whatnot. And Marilyn, the one that we just received from Florida on
Florida.
the Social Security. I thought that was excellent. And I said, oh, wow, that's something that we can do and share on Cafecitos and make sure that the volunteers, the AARP Hispanic Latino volunteers also know, come on, we can share, we can get together. It's a safe place for us to really talk about what's going on within our community and learn from one another.
Wow.
you know what? And I just
Hopefully
want to
that
add,
helps you
Lillian,
a
your
little bit.
question
Yes, go
was,
ahead.
what would we like to, you to share if in fact someone came up to you and asked you?
Mhm.
I would like you to share that it is not just for Hispanic and Latino
I was wondering.
volunteers.
Okay.
We would like to also include everyone who has an interest in increasing the purpose, which is Hispanic and Latino participation, whether it be through membership or volunteers. So anyone who's interested, and that includes staff, is
Mhm.
welcome to join. I think another thing I want you to know is that, and this is our little undercover thing that we're trying to do too, is that these sessions are done bilingually. So in other words, we have a PowerPoint, and what you will see is a PowerPoint with two frames, one in Spanish, one in English. People are learning Spanish as they go along. We actually
That's a good
conduct
thing.
the sessions in English, but then those participants who speak only Spanish can read along. We do a little bit of that Spanglish stuff. So language is not a barrier, and neither is the fact that you don't have to be a volunteer. Please join us.
Okay, well, yes, and you're answering some of the thoughts that I had. I hear you say cafecitos. Is it plural? So is it, why are you using the plural form of that?
Well, use the plural form because we were talking about all the months,
The
the ones
months.
that we do
Okay.
over it. So it's more
Okay.
than one cafecito. So monthly, if we are joining the
Okay.
cafecito, but we were talking about los cafecitos,
Okay.
all of the
Mhm.
monthly,
Yeah, I didn't
doing
know
them
if there
monthly.
was more than one program or, okay, so you answered the month. It's held monthly.
Right,
And I know
monthly.
you said you bring your coffee or tea or something of that sort when I read the information about the program. So that's really nice. The other thing that you answered that I was wondering about,
Mhm.
is it just for Hispanic Latino population? And no, it's for all populations to participate. And it's so wonderful that you have the English and the Spanish version showing on your screen. That will help everyone to feel more included in the program. And so that's important. That's very important. So you have the populations specifically trying to get more Hispanic Latino populations involved, but you're involving all of the population. So that is important. And when we think about your program, and you look at your successes, tell us a little bit about some of the successes of the program.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, go ahead. I was looking
All
at
right.
yourself.
So some of the successes is, again, because of the Cafecitos, it started off as temporary.
Sure.
It's going to continue. Yay, that's one success.
Yes.
We started the Hispanic Latino Chatter, in which you will find every single meeting that we've had. There is a recording. So if you're interested, and Magdalena just made reference to the fact that Florida had this wonderful program on Social Security. I would sing it for you, but nah, you don't want to hear me sing. So go into the Hispanic and Latino Chatter. It is open to anyone who's a volunteer. You can see that. And more successes have been the fact that, again, this whole issue of sharing and knowing what one another are doing. In California, they're doing a talk that's called Let's Talk Dinero. Let's talk about money. And advice is provided through lawyers on various aspects of money. We have in Delaware, bingo, Spanish bingo is going on. Arizona gave us great examples of recruitment efforts, Hispanic Heritage Month things that were happening. And all of this is a collaboration, and we need to build upon our successes and know what's going on, because a lot of times we don't know the great work that's going on out there. So that's part of what our outcomes, we hope.
Okay. Anything else about that?
Yeah, and just talking about that, just think about it. We're building relationships across the nation. So it's not just within the state. Now we want to build those relationships actually across the nation. And thinking about all the things that Marilyn actually mentioned, you're saying, okay, so you're noticing this, noticing that, knowing what's going on in the different states, which is fantastic, because before that, we didn't know what was happening in the different states and whatnot. And the chatter group also helps a lot. So based on our Cafecito, which is then recorded and put into the chatter group. So if you weren't able to attend the meeting, you can always go into the chatter group and actually see the recording of the meeting. So you may learn something through the chatter group.
And that's wonderful.
So
and I was wondering about the chatter groups. The information is in English and Spanish, I would presume, maybe not, but at least the recordings, they can see the English and Spanish versions of Cafecito. So that is excellent. That is excellent. What have some of the participants, what kind of feedback have they given you for this program?
Go ahead, because since we're like going back and forth, I want you to start and I'll continue it.
In terms of feedback, we've had people say how inclusive this makes people feel, how comfortable it makes them feel. We've had people saying, hey, you know what? I want to watch what's going on in California. So maybe I don't have the volunteers or resources to make this happen. I can join in with them, right? So we have just heard a great comments about, here's another thing. They had firsthand knowledge of what's going on with this pilot. This pilot that we talked about initially that kicked it all off, which was a contract with Neta. They've had firsthand knowledge about the progress of those different areas that the pilot was taking place in. And they asked probing questions like, okay, well, what are you going to do? What's going to be the outcome? What's going to be the report? What's contained in the report? And if in fact the contracting agency hadn't thought about them, well, we certainly gave them food for thought. So again, this whole thought about inclusiveness is major. We have had people that may have missed a meeting and they were like, oh my God, I went back into the chatter and was able to watch that video. And oh my God, it helped me so much. So all of that. And again, food for thought. One of the things that Magdalena mentioned, and I hate acronyms, but DWG, the DIY working group is what it is. And one of the things that we do there is the DIYs that are currently in the portal. we made a push for them to be translated into Spanish. But
Ooh.
we all know that sometimes the translation isn't exactly what it should be, idiomatically and culturally and
Mhm.
otherwise. So we have a group that literally looks at those translations, makes sure that they are in fact relatable
Mhm.
and real before they get posted on the portal. And then Migdalia's group, I'll stop talking and
Mhm.
let her tell you what her group does within the DIY working group.
Right. In the DIY working group, we have the demo team, which actually goes out. People can go out and do presentations or interstate speakers. So I'm in charge of that. But also the fact that when we're talking about the DIYs themselves, both English and Spanish, we do a demonstration. So it's a 30-minute presentation that an interstate speaker will give in both English and in Spanish, so either or. So we have it already set up in Social Security. We're working on Medicare in both English and in Spanish. So there's 2 sets. So it helps those facilitators, state facilitators, to actually go in there and look at it and say, oh, okay, this is what I need to include. It should be this way or that way. And it helps a lot. It really works out really well. And the other thing that I wanted to mention was the fact, like Marilyn said, probing questions that the participants would ask. Yeah, they're coming from different states. So when they saw this pilot, the actual pilot going on is, okay, so is it just for those states? Can other states participate? So they're learning what's going on through the recordings that we are actually doing with Los Cafecitos, because we kind of review what happened in those states in reference to their pilot. And the other states can say, hey, wait a minute, I want to take part, or I want to do this, or I can now contact this person and find out a little bit more of how do I recruit, the Latino Hispanic population. What do I have to do? Is it something a little bit different? What is it that I need to do to get them involved, get that membership going?
Wonderful. And I hear the word collaboration a lot, and that is really important, I think, with AARP as a whole. They want us to collaborate, and you all are doing an excellent job of collaborating with the different states, with the different organizations in the areas that need this type of program. Have you found any one location that needs it more than the other, or do you think it's a universal thing, it's needed all over?
Personally, I think it's a universal thing that's needed all over.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say that the collaboration amongst volunteers has been the best
Right.
ever. And I say that because the Roost, run and done by volunteers. Thank you for having us here
You're quite
today.
welcome.
360 Exchange, run and done by volunteers. We presented with them. Fast Track, done and conducted by volunteers. We have participated in that. And it's all about information sharing and supporting one another. And I can't thank you enough. 360, Fast Track, everyone. I mean, it has been mutual support and collaboration all the way around. And for me, this is all about a win-win situation, because we hopefully, with our efforts, will not only collaboration and information sharing, but it's increasing membership, getting that information out there, whether it's via Facebook. We are all vehicles that are being used to carry that message forward. And how can we do that effectively? So it has been an awesome, awesome experience, and continues to be.
Wonderful.
Continues to be.
Absolutely. And you kind of said it very nicely, everything that we need to say. And my thing is make sure that we're involving more volunteers, actually recruiting more Hispanic Latino volunteers who know their community, who can help all others to get to that community and actually help with the cultural aspects of it, because you need to understand the culture in order to be able to present and be authentic when you're presenting, whether you're Latino or not.
Do you see a hesitation at all on the Hispanic Latino population, or do you see that population excited about getting involved with AARP as a volunteer?
Depends.
For me, it's you don't know what you don't know, right?
Mm-hmm.
You
Right.
can't have excitement over something you don't know about.
Okay.
And so, yeah, when in fact we talk about people got excited about, oh my gosh, please go onto the Hispanic Latino chatter. Please become a member of that chatter group. I'm saying this to your audience, to
Mm-hmm.
everyone.
Yes.
When you see what Florida did with Social Security, it'll have you up and jumping and dancing. Like I said, I wish I could sing, but I can't. So no, there's excitement. You know, when people heard about we have something called Let's Talk Dinero, they were excited. Bingo. All
Mhm.
of this is excitement. So you don't know what you don't know. When you know, then you can grow from that. And we
That's
have
true.
had nothing but excitement about the things that are going on.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very true. Absolutely. That's exactly what's going on. And I know you said or asked, are other places interested? Yes, they are. And like Marilyn said, once they see one program and see the excitement going on within that state, know your state volunteers, know who is part of that audience. Who are you going out to get? Who is it that you want to bring in? What the membership is. Staff can also help by knowing and saying, I want more Hispanic Latino presenters or volunteers per se, right? All over, whether it's
Very good.
tabling events or whatever it is. But get out there and know what your community is all about.
Good points. Very good points. And as we continue on this conversation, the other thing that comes to my mind is there are such great things going on with Cafecitos programs. What about the consequences, or maybe that's not the best word. I guess I'm thinking about what has happened with the program that you want to expand upon. What has happened that you say, maybe that's not what we want to do anymore? And what do you want to add to your program?
Well, you know, we started in March, so we're still relatively new.
Mm-hmm.
We're still on a learning curve, admittedly. What I do want is for everybody to know what we want is for everybody to know that this is for everyone, not just
Mm-hmm.
Latino volunteers.
Okay.
Includes staff. It includes together is where we'll succeed and continue to grow. What I want is then for what we want. I'm so sorry to keep saying the I thing, but
You're
because it
good.
is about we, it is a we thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's about increasing the Hispanic Latino chatter. It's
Mm-hmm.
about developing strategies that we can then take to the national level and be heard, not just within OVE, but across the entire enterprise, because there's so much good that is happening. The enterprise needs to know. When we participated recently in a Social Security discussion with people of Congress,
Mm-hmm.
we shared, there were only 4 of us that were Latinos there,
Mm-hmm.
but we shared some of our concerns and we were heard. And there's some action that's being taken at the national level across the enterprise.
Mm-hmm.
Again, those voices need to be heard. And that's what I want. That's the strategy. That's the ultimate outcome, is to be heard across the enterprise and have messages that are fluid and supportive of one another, not piecemeal.
Great, great.
Excellent. So that made me think about some of the people, some of the volunteers who are participating in our cafecitos.
Mm-hmm.
They come from everywhere, all across this nation. We've even had people join us from South Africa.
Wow.
Okay, so
Okay.
we had a volunteer who was down there, and actually he joined and had a few more people that were there with that are there and live there join in with the cafecito. So that was like out of
Global
the
view. Mm-hmm.
exactly. And not only that, Puerto Rico, we got to remember Puerto Rico is mainly Spanish. They are a bilingual country, but the main language in Puerto Rico is Spanish.
Yes.
So when
Yes.
their volunteers join with us, that's where that bilingual presentation
Mm-hmm.
works wonders. Why? Because they can see it in the language that they need to read.
Yeah.
And when
Mm-hmm.
it's for the actual audience, let's say, whether it's cafecitos or anything else, we practice what we preach. So
Right.
we talk in both languages, both Spanish and English. We present in both languages, both Spanish and English, and we do our presentations are written in both languages, Spanish and English. So yes,
Wonderful.
that's a great thing that's happening, and
Yeah.
hoping that it'll be more of it.
And it's important that AARP has the two of you who can speak Spanish and English to present this program, and not to just have a non-Spanish speaking volunteer who's trying to relate, but you are relatable, you know what you're talking about. And to me, that's really important to have someone who is from that population that can actually lead this program. But what is one thing that you want to see happen now? I know Marilyn mentioned that, but I guess I'm thinking of, is there anything that you want to expand upon from since March, or right now you're still that learning curve?
I think there's still a learning curve, but
Mm-hmm.
you know how you just said, and that was one of the messages that we left at the Social Security meeting, that to
Mm-hmm.
make the enterprise think about, and that is that there are more than just Magdalena, myself, or the 3 or 4 volunteers that may be currently involved.
Mm-hmm.
You are not using, we are not using our resources well.
Right.
And we need to know that there are people across this country that are doing a lot of good work, and recognize that because you have talked to 1 or 2 people, that does not mean that the work is done and that, yay, I checked that little
Right,
thing and we
right.
can move on. There is a lot of valuable resources out there amongst our volunteers. And that's what I really, really want people to know.
All right. Well, as we begin to bring closure to this very informative, enlightening, and exciting program, is there anything else that's come to your minds that you would like to share with the audience today? I know we've talked about a lot and you've expressed a lot of great thoughts and ideas, but anything else?
I love the fact that we are going to continue with our cafecitos, and that's going to help us expand our message across the nation, but not only for our Hispanic and Latino population, but the population all over. We want it to be inclusive. So definitely inclusive. And maybe and hopefully that can lead to other programs that we can actually work on together.
Good point.
Have that inclusivity. And one more thing, I know Marilyn talked about how we work and whatnot, but let's go back and remember, because something you said, Lillian, if the person is authentic
Mm-hmm.
and knows what they're talking about and has actually been a part of that culture, or tries to know what that culture is, not going in there and acting like they're the almighty,
Right.
it'll work. It'll
Yes.
work. It's
Yes.
just, you have to be authentic.
Very good. Very good.
I got
Yes,
something.
Marilyn.
I got
I
something.
see.
I want to encourage everyone, please, to go into the portal and join the Hispanic and Latino chatter. Please take a look at what we posted there in terms of our prior meetings, anything you'd like. Please remember that we meet on the last Tuesday of every month. And it is at 3 p.m. Eastern time. And our next meeting is going to be on October 31st. I know this is an evergreen show, but for those, I'm taking advantage of when
no,
this
that's
airs
great.
right now.
That's great.
So October, last Tuesday of every month, October 31st is our next one. Again, 3 p.m. Eastern time. If you go into the Hispanic and Latino chatter, you will see the link to
Okay,
register.
good.
So you'll
That's
get
what
the Zoom. And quite frankly, even if you don't, please feel free to contact either Magdalena or myself. Send us an email. And if you don't have our email, you can go into the Hispanic and Latino chatter and find our
Okay,
addresses.
excellent. And thank you for pointing out how important the portal is. As a portal champion, I appreciate you all using the portal to give your story and to send your message to all the volunteers and staff. So we're going to go ahead and close this podcast for today, or for this moment. And we want to say thank you, Magdalena and Marilyn, for being our guests today to talk about the Cafecito program and all that you're doing to increase the Hispanic and Latino population inclusion as a volunteer with AARP. So staff and volunteers, as you speak with your other fellow staff and volunteers, we hope that you will find us on the YouTube channel, like us in the comment section, give us feedback, tell us what you thought about this particular podcast, and also subscribe to the Roost News podcast on YouTube, as well as your audio visual podcast player. Thank you again for joining us, and we're going to say goodbye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you.